Good. Hi, Karen.
I was wondering if you view Drake May as kind of a natural-born leader or someone who's more evolving into that role.
Well, I think we're always trying to evolve in what we do, whether that's leadership, whether that's learning the other side of the football, that's learning each other. So again, Drake's, I think it's a unique position being 22, right? It's kind of unique in that sense. And so I think that there is a lot of room to grow. I think there's a lot of natural leadership qualities. I think I have to encourage him and continue to encourage him and to put him in those positions to do that so that the players understand, that there's a different version of all of us. There's one that's maybe off the field, that there's one in the meeting room, and then there's a version on the field which we all have to understand is somewhat different than what it may be off the field.
What makes a good leader as a quarterback, Mike?
I don't think it matters if you're a quarterback or a offensive lineman or a running back or defensive back. It's about your ability to reach certain players that maybe, again, we don't want to have any gaps. And so hopefully that you know what to do, that you're prepared, you do things the right way. You're a good listener. I think you can adapt to what happens and adapt to the people that you're talking to, maybe based on what they need. As far as sometimes people need a little different encouraging, and sometimes you need a little bit firmer hand and maybe a little bit more firmer stance. And I think that's all important of understanding and getting to know each person before you can start to lead them.
What's your goal for this week, Mike? Is it kind of reviewing the things you've done in the spring? Is it competing? Is it setting the stage for what camp will be like?
I think that's where things have kind of changed. This is just an extension of the last 9 or 10 days that we've had on the field. It's going to look the same. They're just, the only difference is that there's the time constraint isn't the same. We're not under the same time. So we're going to continue on with our installation, start to try to put first, second, third down together, move down into the red zone. And so all those things that you talked about as far as competing, that's never going to change when we come out here to practice. We just have to understand that there's parameters to how we compete and staying away from the quarterback and staying off the ground and not going through receivers without pads on. So really for us, nothing's going to change from the first 3 weeks.
How has Stefon Diggs done since coming to New England last week?
Good. I mean, just trying to figure out where everything is and what his role is, and making sure that as we add those situations, the third down, the no huddle, and the red zone, that he's staying up on it. He's working hard in his rehab, and when he can, certain drills he can be out there, and there's certain drills that he won't be. But I think he's engaged, and I like his energy.
Mike, Christian Barmore, when we talked to him a few weeks ago, said he was confident that his medical issues were behind him from last year. Do you share that same confidence, and what have you seen from him in the time you've been with him here for these 3-4 weeks?
Well, I'm not going to comment on Christian's medical status. I'll leave that up to him. But what I've seen is a player that is excited, that is coachable, extremely coachable, has some versatility. He's rushed inside. He's lined up outside. He's worked extremely hard. You've seen him chase and play with great effort and just down the field. And so excited to see where he's at. But I've seen a lot of just improvement and a lot of engagement from him since the time that we've been here.
Mike, in your experience,
It's very early, but looking at that defensive front, kind of following up on that a little bit, how is that group coming together with Milton and Christian and Keon all together?
Well, there's a lot of other names out there as well, so I wouldn't just single those three out. I think that's got to be a strength for us this year. That front seven. We certainly invested in that position, and I like how they're competing. I like how they're working. And this is a tough time. It's just like, hey, rush the passer, be a physical presence as a D lineman, but to a certain extent in the spring, and then pull back and then get out of the way. No bull rush and all these things that we give them. But I'm excited where they're at, and they're learning a lot of installation. I think they're working well together. I think they're communicating, which is important. I think they're working hard and they're getting in shape.
Mike, in your experience, how much can culture impact wins and losses, and can it compensate for talent deficiencies?
I mean, I'm sure that it's, I don't know what the analytical number is, but I think that there's certainly a way to, there's a style in which you can play that can lead to success. But again, that's never going to make up for execution and players making plays. But hopefully that we're prepared, we play hard, and we take advantage. We get good enough where we can take advantage of bad football.
As you've gone through the spring, how have you gotten to know Deario Douglas, and what have you learned about him and just his play style?
Well, I love the person. I love his attitude. I love his spirit. He loves to practice. He loves to play this game. He loves football. That shows. I think he's gotten better. I think he's moving him around different places, and he's picked up everything that we've asked him to do. So that the more that he understands, the more we give him. And so I'm excited to see where he continues to be and continue to grow.
How have you felt about the competition at left guard early on?
Well, we'll be able to evaluate, I think, the linemen once we get to training camp. So moving a lot of guys through there, but really we'll have to make a lot of those decisions and determinations once we get to training camp and there's pads and you start stacking some days together. This is purely a passing camp, and so I don't know if you get a full evaluation without shoulder pads on as an offensive lineman.
You said it's a passing camp. What have you seen from the receiver room? There's obviously a lot of guys in there. How are you seeing things sorting out so far throughout the spring?
Well, I think guys are stepping up and taking advantage of opportunities. There's some guys that are working off on the side, some guys that haven't been available to us. And I think that every day somebody shows us something. It's can we continue to do it consistently, right? We'll go down in the red zone and see who can kind of catch, maybe make some plays and contested catches and tight windows. And but I like how they've worked. I've liked how they've responded. Throwing a lot at them. Now with first, second, third down, and then adding red zone and no huddle. So hopefully, they're ready to go today with all those situations.
Your analytics.
Canceling the practice on Wednesday, is that something you've done in the past, and what's the thinking behind that?
I just felt like hopefully we can get 2 good days of work here and get going on to the off-season program. And we'll still work. I just didn't want to come out. We'll be out on the field. We'll be lifting and running and meeting.
How do you feel about analytics as a tool, the advent of analytics, and how much it's changed in the 15, 20 years? Some people lean on it heavily. Some people use it as kind of a guide. What do you do?
Well, we want to use technology to the best of our ability and what we can do to help us be more efficient, to help us make better decisions, informed decisions. I don't think I don't think you can rely and base every decision off the numbers, but I also think that those are important to ask questions and then be able to follow up and come to a sound decision on everything that we do, personnel, coaching decisions, player health and safety, strength and conditioning, every aspect of our program. Hopefully we'll have some analytical background and data that we can rely on, they can ask questions. And then when you look at coaching and self-scout and opponent breakdown, how we become more efficient with that system.
Mike had a couple questions about leadership and Drake a little bit earlier. I just want to follow up on one thing. How have you seen him kind of handle that balance? I imagine it's difficult, the balance between being the guy that everybody likes and wants to be around, but also being demanding. Is that something that you
this is pro football. I don't think everybody's going to like you. I don't think that that's something that is possible. And we have to do our job. We have to make sure that we're prepared. And that ultimately the players can hold each other accountable to play to our standard and play to our identity and know what to do and perform.
Has he shown an ability to maybe push guys and not care about whether
I think that's evolving, and that's a work in progress. I think we're all learning each other a little bit. I think we're all, kind of learning the system and learning the plays. And once we master it, I think that's going to start to separate itself.
Mike Smith was one of the assistants you brought in. I don't think you had as much experience with as some of the others. What appealed to you about him joining the staff? And since he was hired, what has he done with the edge group to help them along?
Mike's a good teacher. He's a very good pass rush teacher. He's excellent teacher that breaks film down, that can explain moves, that can show guys these moves. He's coached a lot of good pass rushers, whether they're in a 2-point stance, a 3-point stance. They had a certain play style. The thing I really appreciate about Mike is he can cater to every play style and skill set, and he'll show KC moves, and he'll show Keon different moves, and one may be better at another one, and so it's not one size fits all, and he's able to coach to all those different guys, and I think you'll see it and have seen it on translate to the practice field. I think the moves and the things that they do in individual translates to the team. So that's the thing we want to do, is make sure that our drills translate to the team periods and then ultimately to the games.
Josh McDaniels mentioned that some of the offensive coaches were showing him cut-ups of things he wanted to integrate. I'm curious, how important was it for you to integrate some of those principles, and what is it about maybe some West Coast things that you wanted to bring here to New England?
I think you want to have a very inclusive staff. You want to make sure that people feel comfortable sharing ideas. We understand that not everybody's idea is going to get used, and that goes for defense, that goes for offense. We have to come together and decide what's best for the football team, and what our players can handle, and again, what can marry with what we're already doing, and what are some change-ups to those things. So I love the ideas that everybody's been able to bring, and then hopefully we can blend it here in training camp. There'll be a couple players for personal reasons, but other than that, we don't have any holdouts, if that's what you mean. But there's a couple personal situations that are going to keep a couple guys from being out here.